April 1945, Bavaria, Germany. The shooting had stopped 10 minutes ago. The village was taken. American soldiers were moving through it, clearing buildings, checking rooms. Then someone heard it. A sound from inside a burning house. Not an adult, not a soldier, a child. Private Aaron Cole heard it and stopped walking. He looked at the burning building. He looked at his sergeant. The sergeant looked back at him. Cole was already moving. He went through the front door. The fire was in the walls, in the ceiling, moving fast, smoke everywhere. He couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. He went deeper into the building. 20 seconds passed. Then 30. The sergeant started toward the door. Cole came back out. He was carrying a girl, maybe 4 years old, German, still alive. He set her down on the ground outside. He was burned on his hands and his forearms. He didn't say anything. He just sat down next to the girl and waited for the medic. The sergeant watched him for a moment. Then he wrote it down. 3 weeks later, the report reached Patton. Patton read it. Then he did something that nobody expected a general to do. Before we get into what happened next, if you want more untold stories from World War II, hit that subscribe button. It was April 18th, 1945, 19 days before Germany's surrender. The Third Army was sweeping through Bavaria, taking towns faster than the German defenders could organize resistance. Most of the fighting was brief and one-sided by this point. German units were surrendering on contact, retreating before American forces arrived, or simply dissolving as soldiers decided individually that the war was over for them. But not every town went quietly, and fire did not care which side had started the war. The village of Unterbach was small, fewer than 400 people before. The war had reduced that number in the ways that wars reduce numbers in small villages. American forces had entered from the north on the morning of April 18th after a short exchange with a German rearguard. The fighting lasted less than 30 minutes. Then the Americans were moving through the streets. Private Aaron Cole was 20 years old, from Philadelphia. He had been in Europe for 7 months. He was not a remarkable soldier in any particular way, not the bravest in his platoon, not the fastest, not the one with the most combat experience. He was a young man from Pennsylvania who had been drafted, trained, and sent to Germany to do his part in ending a war. He was walking through Unterbach with his platoon. When he heard the sound, he stopped. The other soldiers kept walking. They had their own buildings to clear, their own orders to execute. The village wasn't secure yet, and standing still was a risk. Cole stood still anyway. He heard it again, coming from a house on the left side of the street. Wood construction. Roof already gone. Fire visible in the upper windows. He turned to Sergeant David Walsh. Walsh looked at the building, then at Cole. Cole was already moving toward the door. He went in. The ground floor was smoke and heat, the kind of heat that hits you like a wall. He pulled his jacket up over his mouth and moved toward where the sound was coming from, a back room, behind what had been a kitchen. He found her under a table in the back room, 4 years old, maybe younger, curled up as small as she could make herself, the way children go small when they are frightened. She was coughing from the smoke. Her eyes were open. She was alive. Cole picked her up. He moved back toward the front of the building. The ceiling in the hallway had dropped partially since he went in. He went around it, ducking low, the girl against his chest. He could hear the fire above him now, a sound like something tearing. He came out the front door. Walsh had been standing at the threshold, counting seconds, ready to go in. He stepped back when Cole appeared. Cole walked to the nearest clear patch of ground and sat down. He put the girl down carefully beside him. She was still coughing. She looked at him, with the expression of a child who has not yet processed what has happened to her. Cole's hands and forearms were burned, not badly enough to keep him from moving, but badly enough to matter. His jacket was scorched across the back. He didn't say anything. He just sat next to the girl and put his hand on her back the way you do to tell someone without words that they are going to be all right. Walsh sent for the medic. While they waited, a German woman appeared from somewhere down the street, running and calling out a name. She reached the girl and dropped to her knees, and gathered her up. She held her for a moment without letting go. Then she looked up at Cole. She said something in German, several sentences. Her voice was shaking. Cole didn't speak German, but he understood enough from her face. Walsh wrote the incident report that evening. He described what had happened factually and completely, the way good sergeants write incident reports. He noted Cole's burns. He noted the German child. He noted that Cole had entered a burning building during active clearing operations to retrieve a civilians who could not have escaped on her own. The report went up through the standard channels. It reached Patton's headquarters 3 weeks later. His aide, Colonel Thomas Reed, flagged it with a single note attached to the front page. Worth your attention. Patton read it before his morning briefing on May 7th, the day Germany surrendered. He read it twice. Then he set it down and looked at Reed. Where is this soldier now? Still with his unit, sir. 89th Infantry Division outside Munich. Patton was quiet for a moment. Get me his commanding officer, and get me Cole. Cole arrived at Patton's headquarters 2 days later, on May 9th. He came in a jeep with his platoon sergeant. Both of them told only that the commanding general wanted to see him. Cole had spent most of the drive trying to think of what he might have done wrong. He couldn't think of anything specific, which he found more unsettling than if he could. He walked in and came to attention. Patton looked at him for a moment, then he told him to sit down. He didn't make Cole stand at attention while he spoke. He sat down across from him the way you sit across from someone when you have something to say, to them directly. I read Sergeant Walsh's report, Patton said. Cole said nothing. A burning building, Patton said. During clearing operations, after a firefight, you went in alone. Yes, sir. Why? Cole looked at him. She was in there, sir, he said. I could hear her. Patton looked at him for a moment. That's the whole reason? He said. Yes, sir. Patton nodded once. He was quiet. Then he said what he had brought Cole there to say. I've commanded a great many men, Patton said. I've read a great many men. Reports. I've seen soldiers do things in combat that required a kind of courage most people will never understand. But what you did in that village was something different. He leaned forward slightly. You were in a cleared village, at the end of a fight, with orders to continue, your assignment, and you heard a child. And you went in. Not because anyone told you to. Not because it was your job. Because she was in there and you could hear her. He looked at Cole directly. That is not a small thing. That is the thing that separates a soldier from a man in uniform. Anyone can follow orders under fire. What you did required something else. It required you to decide, in a moment, what you were. Cole said nothing. He was 20 years old and didn't have words for this. You are going to receive a commendation, Patton said. That will happen through the official process. But I brought you here because I wanted to tell you something before that. He paused. We came to this country to end a war. And while we were doing that, you stopped and listened, and you went into a burning building and brought a German child out. That child's mother said something to you that you didn't understand. Cole looked at him. She said thank you. Patton said, that's what she said. You didn't understand her and you were gone before anyone could tell you. But that's what she said. You should know that. He leaned back. Cole sat there for a moment. He didn't say anything. There wasn't anything to say. Cole was awarded the Soldier's Medal 6 weeks later. The citation describes his actions at Unterbach on April 18, 1945, and noted the voluntary nature of the action and the risk involved. He returned to Philadelphia after the war. He worked in his father's hardware store for many years. He had 4 children and later 7 grandchildren. He didn't talk about the war much with his family. His children knew he had been in Germany, knew he had come home with burns on his hands that had healed into scars, but didn't know the details. His daughter said there was one thing on the wall of his study that was not family. It was a copy of the incident report Walsh had written that evening in Unterbach. Cole had requested it before he left Germany and kept it for the rest of his life. She asked him once, when she was old enough to read it, why he kept it rather than the commendation citation or the medal paperwork. He thought about it. Because it's the truest thing anyone ever wrote about me, he said. Walsh was there. He wrote what he saw. That's all it is. Patton wrote nothing about the meeting with Cole in any official record. Colonel Reed spoke about it years later. He didn't do it for the record, Reed said. He read a report about a young man who heard a child in a burning building and went in, and he thought that young man deserved to hear from someone with the authority to say it that it mattered. He paused. He told Cole what the mother had said. That was the part that stayed with me. He had taken the time before the meeting to find out what the woman had actually said to this soldier, tracked down the translation through someone in the unit, and he made sure Cole heard it. Because Cole had walked out of that building and sat down next to that girl, and had no way of knowing what she had been trying to tell him. Was Patton right to make that trip? Was Cole's action the kind of thing that deserved to be recognized? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more stories about World War II and the people who lived it, make sure to subscribe.